Connecting. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Rod Jackson, headmaster at ICS in London. Very, very lovely to see you, and thank you for joining me.
That's a great pleasure. Lovely to see you too.
Absolute pleasure, and well done on the tech. You got that all sorted pretty easily.
Yeah, no, very pleased with myself.
Well
my first live Instagram video call.
And you're off to a good start. Well done. Rod, thank you so much for joining me. How's life been over this term, I guess? How have everyone settled into the new norm?
I think fantastic, really. I mean, after moving online back in March, where obviously like other schools, we were totally online and very quickly offered a full online provision. And then, which was very successful and our parents were very happy with, but it was such a joy to come back to on-site teaching and learning and seeing colleagues and students right through from the 3-year-olds up to the 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it's been great. And obviously there've been challenges, but it's been inspirational really to see how well my colleagues and our students have not only coped with those challenges, but thrived.
Yeah. Oh, I'm delighted. And have you got a full house, or have you got some students that haven't been able to make it back in?
We've had a bit of variety, really. I think the vast majority of our students are now back on site, although because we are very international, we've worked with a number of families at different points during the term from September who have had to quarantine or self-isolate to meet the government regulations. So we've been offering a range of on-site and what we call sort of hybrid or blended learning to various families. And so, for example, in January, to allow families to go home for the winter break, we'll be offering a full hybrid learning program to all families who need that. But of course, because some of our families will still be in London, they'll be able to come in and learn on site as well. So we're working hard to meet the needs of all of our families.
It is amazing. It really has stretched you amazing educators to the nth degree, hasn't it?
It has. It's been, in my 30-year career, it's been a challenge that I never expected to have to meet. But it has really pushed us, and it's made us think very creatively about what our core values are as a school and what the essentials are in terms of teaching and learning and in terms of looking after students, because obviously ensuring that our students are happy and well cared for is also incredibly important, particularly in the current circumstances.
Absolutely. And Rod, just touching on that wealth of experience, what led you to become a head or a teacher, if that was the first step on the ladder?
I fell into teaching almost accidentally. After completing a classics degree at the University of Adelaide many years ago, I saw an advertisement for the Australian Volunteers Abroad, which is a bit like the VSO. So I then went and taught in Africa for 2 years, and which I loved. And then on the back of that, returned to Adelaide and completed my teaching qualification, and then worked in Brisbane, and then came over to the UK, and then pursued a career in independent schools in London and the southeast of England. And I think I became a head really out of a sense of desire to see my vision for education enacted in the way that I felt was possible. And I think that there are ways of doing that in all levels of education, but I think as a head, you really have an opportunity to have that clarity of thinking and of action in terms of, for me, creating an environment where students are well nurtured, they have huge opportunities to have an enriched experience to develop personally, and at the same time there's a real desire to nurture their intellectual life and for them to succeed academically and go off into the world as well-rounded young adults who are going to make a real difference and shape the world and make the world a better place.
Fantastic. And ICS is a truly international school. I think from last count, you're representing up to 65 different nationalities.
We really are, and that's true of our teaching faculty as well. That
okay,
we're very international right the way through, and
yeah.
I think it's a key part of our culture and our DNA. And I think it's one of the joys of being at the centre of a global city like London, that wherever you come from, whatever your background, then you can really find a home here and you can make a home. And I think that that's a core component of the ICS experience, that because we want to work with each child and each family as individuals, it's a matter of ensuring that from the moment that a family picks up the phone to our admissions office, wherever in the world they're calling from, that they really feel that they are special, and they are special to us, and they're treated as individuals. And that applies right the way through when the child joins us and every day that they come into school.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of that international ethos, if you like, I think that's really key to us as well. I think that it's important where you have that mix of nationalities, that you're very clear on your own values, which we are, and at the same time you're achieving that balance of respecting the culture and the values and the backgrounds of everyone who's a part of our community. And I think that that's really where one of the ways that we have an opportunity to make the world a better place, that children who come here, however long they stay with us, they'll go on to the next phase of their life and their education, knowing that they've made friends from all over the world that they'll stay in touch with for the rest of their lives. And that's so important, I think.
Absolutely. And you are situated in the centre of one of the world's greatest capitals. I just was interested, all the amazing benefits of being in London, which I think are sort of go without saying. Do you feel that outweighs the pressure of the sort of ranks and ratings of being a London school?
Very much. I think that it was Samuel Johnson who said, when you're tired of London, you're tired of life. And I think that I've lived in country Australia, I've lived in Africa, I've lived in quite rural parts of the UK, and there's nowhere quite like London. And it's so exciting, whatever your age, whatever your background, to be in the centre of such a rich and culturally diverse world capital. And there are so many opportunities academically, culturally, physically, and you really feel that you're at the centre of things. And although some of those opportunities have obviously been put on the back burner in the last few months, they're still there and they'll still come back again. And a couple of weeks ago, I went with our 3 and 4 year olds to Regent's Park as part of their outdoor learning program. And it was just fantastic. And they had a lovely time. They had a music lesson outside. And I still get a thrill every time I come into central London. I live in the suburbs myself, but just getting on the tube or driving into central London, it's still a wonderful experience.
Absolutely. And do you think the students are sort of without, do you think they understand the pressures, or do you think you manage to shield them from the sort of, as I say, the ranks and ratings of what's become the sort of first filter to senior education?
I think we do a lot to shield them, because really we're looking at working with each individual and working to take them on the journey that they need to travel to reach the destination that's right for them. And for many of our students, it's going on to a Russell Group University, and we support them to do that. For some of our students, it might be to enter the creative sphere. So we recently were contacted by one of our former students who has offered to come back and speak to our students about his experience as a director and producer of music videos. And of course, London is a creative hub, so there's a wealth of opportunities, and we work with our students to make sure that whatever their future destination, they receive the right support to reach that destination in the way that they want.
And have you seen a change, I mean, with the current global situation, have you seen a change in applicants? And I mean, obviously the logistics we covered slightly at the start, but have you seen a decrease in your future applications?
I think that there has been a lot of families who would have been moving to London have been in contact with us and have had to put their move on hold, at least temporarily.
Sure.
But for example, we're getting a lot of interest for January and for Easter as well. And because we are so international and take admissions on a rolling basis throughout the year,
right, okay.
I think that
so they've got flexibility.
We've got that flexibility, and it's interesting. So we're now having a lot of conversations about January, and a lot of interest starting to come into play for September as well. So I think that there's going to be a lot of pent up demand, and some of the families that have stepped back a little bit in terms of international moves because it just hasn't been possible because of government regulations at their end or our end, are now looking at the positive news in the media around the vaccines that are coming through and the fact that the R rate in London is now dropping and things are looking very positive for spring and summer. So I think actually demand for next academic year is going to be very high.
Okay, well, good. I'm delighted. So Rod, if you weren't the passionate headmaster that you clearly are, what dream job might you have gone for?
I think that when I was a boy, all those years ago, I always had a hankering to be a marine biologist or a naturalist of some sort. And life took me in other directions, but I've always had a great interest in the natural world and being outdoors. And it's one of the real pleasures that I've got at the moment in my current role that ICS, through being part of the Globe Educate group of schools, has a partnership with the WWF. So we're doing a lot of work with them on sustainability projects and on how, even though we're a city centre school, we can be very aware of the natural world and so on. So that was the path not travelled for me.
Right. Okay. So that's next time round. Okay.
Yes, I think so.
I was really interested to ask you, I believe you run the International Baccalaureate through primary and middle years onto diploma. So you run it right the way through the system. It offers the most amazing breadth to students because they can continue with a large range of subjects for a while. I was interested really to hear a little bit more about that and whether you think it procates specialisation in subjects, or whether you feel it's still very much of the moment and keep critical to an all-round education.
I think that the having taught in a number of different educational systems during my career, I think the International Baccalaureate really ticks all the boxes, and it achieves that ideal balance between breadth on the one hand and depth on the other, and also ensuring that what are now, I don't really like this phrase very much, but what are now called 21st century skills are given the right emphasis. So that ability to think creatively, to work collaboratively, to work independently, and these are the skills that universities and employers are looking for. And those skills are embedded in the IB experience right the way from age 3 and 4 at the start of the primary years program, right up to the diploma for the 17 and 18-year-olds. And I think that's one of the reasons why the IB, in the 52 years since it was founded, has been such a success. And I think it as a framework, it goes from strength to strength. And I really feel very proud and grateful that at this stage of my career, I've had the opportunity to work within that system, because I think it's taken, although there are lots of very good schools offering the British curriculum that achieve many of the aims that the IB promotes, I think the IB has embedded those aims right from the start. And I think that that sense of coherence really comes through. And I think that when you meet a student who has graduated from the IB program, they're very passionate about what they've achieved and what they've obtained from that program. Sure. And they're really very well educated international citizens. And that's, I think, what education is all about.
And what sort of proportion of your sixth formers go on to further education? I mean, you mentioned the Russell Group earlier. I'm just interested to know what the sort of percentage mix is to going within the UK and abroad.
In the last 2 or 3 years, 100% of our students have gone on to tertiary education. And I would say it's about a 70-30 split between UK universities and universities abroad. Okay. A lot of American universities, also a smattering in Europe and the Far East in Australia. So, okay. And I think that's one thing about being an international school, that we're able to cater for any destination globally that a student wants to achieve.
And do you tend to, because obviously you start age 2, as you say, I think right up to 18, is it quite typical for a child's journey to be the whole journey, as it were? Or do you have different intake levels?
I think it's a real mixture. I mean, I remember talking to some of our diploma leavers back in the summer, and quite a number of those students who are leaving aged 18 going off to university had been with us for 7 or 8 years. So, the majority of their educational experience. But we also have students who come for a year or a term because families do get transferred to London, or they're here for a 2-year secondment, or their parents are, and their children need an education which is transferable and mobile, and we're able to provide that. So I think it's a really nice mixture. So we have some British students who are very much British London based, and a real mixture between sort of the long-term international students and the short-term international students.
Yeah, which is quite nice, isn't it? So it sort of mixes it up a bit. And actually, for those that leave, I don't know what sort of alumni setup ICS has, but I was interested to know whether you could locate a common thread that bound this amazing international body together. Are there characteristics that define an ICS alumni?
I think that I would say, in a broad sense, our students are firstly good people. And I think for me, that as an educator, that's really important. They've got a really good sense of themselves as citizens of the world. They're kind, they're compassionate, they want to make the world a better place. I think they're hardworking, and they're often very successful because they value education and they understand the value of hard work. Quite a number go off into the professions, so law, medicine, engineering, and so on. But we have a lot who go off into a more sort of business orientated approach and study economics, business management, and so on. And some of those are in senior positions in banks and international corporations, doing very well. And it's always a real pleasure when they pop back and to see us. In fact, it was one of the unfortunate consequences of the lockdown last academic year that we had a number of 40th birthday celebrations planned, including some events for our alumni, which we've had to put back. So, but we haven't forgotten. So if any of our alumni are watching, we will be back in contact.
Fabulous. And just from what we've discussed, there's obviously a very strong academic strain that goes through ICS. Would you, I mean, but also you touched on the creative and cultural, I mean, would you say that there is something there for everyone, or would you say that it has an academic leaning?
I think there is something there for everyone, because I think people are rounded, and even the most academic student will enjoy playing sports or acting in a play or playing a musical instrument. But I think that our families and our students want to achieve highly academically, and they want to succeed academically. And we're proud of our record in terms of whatever starting point our students join us at, that the destination they reach will be genuinely outstanding. I think back to one of our girls who is now studying law, who is a Brazilian, joined us in the equivalent of year 7, speaking no English at all, and she left us last year going off to a top university to study law, and that's kind of not an unusual story for us.
Yeah, but a pretty amazing testament to all that you're doing. Rod, as we touched on earlier, you've had the most amazing 30-year educational career that spanned Africa, Australia, and the UK. I was interested to know whether you're settled here, and whether, and what, if you know, what you think the future holds for you.
I feel very settled in London. My family here in London. My children see themselves as Londoners. I think that they would be devastated if I suggested we all move somewhere else. And I just love it here at ICS. It's a fantastic school. It's a lovely community, and I really enjoy working here. Maybe in a few years' time, I've got one big adventure left in me. Maybe I would love a stint back in Africa in the future at some point. But that's a while in the future, I think.
Absolutely, it's on your wish list.
Sure.
Fabulous. Well, Rod, thank you for your time today. We've really enjoyed it. As I was saying on the intro, we've chatted to some country prep school and senior school heads, so it's been fascinating hearing a bit more about the London and international scene. So many thanks, and yeah, keep up the good work. You're obviously doing an amazing job.
That's a great pleasure, and lovely to speak to you.
Wonderful. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.